Okay, I'm calling to order the Board of Education regular meeting, Petaluma City Schools at 6:02. Welcome, everyone. Our first order of business is adoption and approval of the agenda.
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, special recognition, Students of the Month. Let's start with Kenilworth Junior High.
Okay, just give me a minute while I start promoting people.
Ashley, just so you know, I'm going to do them in the order they're on the paper. So it'll be Kenilworth, Petaluma Junior, CASA, and then Petaluma High. That
Perfect,
helps.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have everybody. So whoever is going to present first, go for it.
Okay, I'm presenting first. Okay. Kenilworth Junior High is proud to introduce our October Student of the Month, Olivia Solis. Hello, I'm Georgia Moss, and I'm part of the Kenilworth ASB Leadership Class. Olivia has been chosen Student of the Month because she is one of Kenilworth's most outstanding students, hardest workers, and one of our finest role models. Olivia has maintained an impressive grade point average her entire time at Kenilworth, both in person and during online learning. Olivia is currently enrolled in 7 classes at Kenilworth and is earning an A+ in each class. According to Ms. Chavez, Olivia's advanced English teacher, Olivia is an active and engaged student who is always willing to share her ideas and participate in class discussions. Olivia is also extremely kind. I really appreciate having Olivia in class, said Ms. Chavez. Ms. Romano, who has Olivia in her yearbook class and who had Olivia all of last school year in her world history class, added, I'm so thrilled that Olivia was chosen Student of the Month. Olivia is kind, empathetic, patient, and extremely thoughtful. Olivia puts thought and gives maximum effort on everything that she does. Mr. Russo, Olivia's PE teacher, enthusiastically shared, Olivia does everything I could possibly ask in 0 period PE during these difficult times. She's ready to go every morning, works hard, and has a positive attitude, and completes all of her work on time and with high quality. Olivia's attitude and performance is inspiring. She's very deserving of this recognition. Not only is Olivia an outstanding student, but she has a wide variety of interests and hobbies. Olivia enjoys knitting, drawing, exercising, and she's also a beekeeper. Olivia is also a dedicated karate student who has earned her purple belt. After high school, Olivia would like to attend Stanford University and either pursue a career as a physician or she would like to work for NASA and become an astronaut. Olivia's mom, Dina, added, Olivia is very dedicated to doing well and has high aspirations. Olivia is ambitious, kind, caring, and strong in her convictions. We are very proud of her and her accomplishments. Congratulations, Olivia.
Congratulations. Thank you. Is there a second one?
Yes, hi, that would be me. Hi, I'm Ava Hajiji. I'm Kenilworth Student Body President, and I am here to introduce Dylan, the other Student of the Month. Dylan was chosen Student of the Month because he is one of Kenilworth's brightest and most enthusiastic and positive leaders. Dylan has maintained a 4.0 grade point average his entire time at Kenilworth and is leaving a lasting impression on his Kenilworth teachers. Dylan is a joy to teach, shared Ms. Chavez, Dylan's advanced English teacher. Ms. Chavez added, Dylan is always smiling, eager to participate, and willing to share his ideas for the novel he is developing in class. Ms. Bradley, Dylan's KTV instructor, added, Dylan's enthusiasm for assignment means that he not only produces outstanding work, but he gladly takes feedback and revision suggestions and digs into improving his work even more. It is a joy to see Dylan's smiling face and wave through Zoom. His teachers and classmates are lucky to work with him. Mr. Caldwell, who was Dylan's 7th grade world history teacher, was eager to add that Dylan is an awesome student. He can write very well and his reading skills are quite advanced. But what impresses me most about Dylan is his character. Dylan is mature, respectful, and his emotional intelligence is off the charts. Dylan deeply understands the people around him, and he uses that knowledge not for an advantage, but rather to share compassion and kindness. Outside of the classroom, Dylan enjoys playing disc golf, baseball, and distance running. Dylan was a valuable member of the Colts cross-country team, and Dylan helped lead his all-star baseball team to a district championship last year. Further demonstrating the kind of person Dylan is, he shared he would play anywhere to help his team. An avid sport enthusiast, Dylan shared that after college, he would like to be a sports journalist. Dylan's mom, Tracy, added, we really appreciate a son who works hard in school and looks to do things the right way rather than the easy way. Congratulations, Dylan.
Thank you. That was great. Okay, Petaluma Junior High, you're on.
Okay, so hi, my name's Aaliyah Webb, and I'm the ASB president for Petaluma Junior High. So Petaluma Junior High is very excited to present Chloe Donahue as one of our October 2020 Students of the Month. Chloe was born on November 2nd, 2007 at nearby Santa Rosa Kaiser Permanente. She has been an excellent student who has a wide variety of skills and interests. As a part of her contribution to our school, Chloe brings her impressive theater and literary experiences to Petaluma Junior High to share. Chloe is one of those students who really enjoys learning. She maintains straight A's in rigorous classes and has a very strong work ethic, and loves to contribute her perspective in class. Her PE teacher says Chloe is a very intelligent student who produces consistent quality work and is often willing to speak up and volunteer in class. And her art teacher adds these adjectives about Chloe: an outstanding student, great artist, hard worker, creative, artistic, kind, and engaged. She always tries her best. This is not the first time Chloe has received recognition for her academic strength and positivity. She was a 6th grader. She won the spelling bee going to the county competition. And at her graduation ceremony from Liberty, she was honored with the Rarely Best Town Presidential Award for Academic Excellence. Chloe intends to continue earning all A's through her school career, eventually attending Ivy League school to study journalism. Literature and theater are two of Chloe's many passions. Outside of school, Chloe participates in book and drama groups. She is a leading member of both the book and drama clubs at PJHS. For the PJHS Book Club, she is team captain and secretary. She reads every day, which she feels is a practice that contributes to good mental health. She is the current casting director for PJHS Drama Club and our virtual play Hoodie. As an elementary student, she performed in 6 school productions: Willy Wonka, On the Farm, Peter Pan, King Tut, and We Are Monsters. Chloe has a lot of other passions as well. She loves to draw, sketch her family members, animals, and cartoon characters. She adores animals and is particularly fond of her dog Polly, who recently gave birth to puppies. She practices archery, goes for bike rides, and plays basketball with her family. Her mother says Chloe is an exceptionally driven and intelligent student who always demonstrates her natural ability to learn and performs her best in every subject. Chloe goes beyond her regular academic requirements by stepping up for the drama club as the casting director, in which she has helped make it easy and fun for her fellow classmates to audition for the school play. I am very proud of my daughter and thankful for the staff and teachers who nominated her for this October Student of the Month award. We agree. Chloe is one student who stands out and an excellent role model. We are proud to honor her with the title of Student of the Month.
Congratulations, that was great. Thank you. Do we have a second Petaluma Junior High student?
Yes. My name is Katya Antonis, and I'm a 7th grade officer at Petaluma Junior High. We are honored to represent Nathan Rodriguez as one of our October 2020 Students of the Month. Nathan was born in nearby Santa Rosa on August 15, 2006. He came to our district in 2011 as an English learner and a student with learning challenges. Nathan quickly demonstrated his potential with a good attitude and hard work. He now earns straight A's and is an excellent role model for Petaluma Junior High in this community. Nathan enjoys school and works hard. Not only does he have a stellar transcript, he continues to thrive through distance learning model. His PE teacher comments, Nathan is a very polite and consistent student who always tries his best. Nathan has a lot of varied interests. He is a good all-around athlete and enjoys playing on baseball and basketball teams. Although they cannot meet in person, Nathan continues to participate in Technology Tuesday, a club that meets through the library to explore and learn about science and technology. As a 6th grader at Wilson, he enjoyed being part of the school play. He loves to read in Spanish and hopes to be fluent someday. Spending time with his family is important to him. Together, Nathan and his family ride their bikes around town and on some days spread the word of the Jehovah's Witness faith. But Nathan's first love is animation and drawing. He collects Funko Pop and has aspirations to become an animator, eventually having his own YouTube channel for his cartoons. His family adds, Nathan is a big brother to 2 sisters, ages 11 and 4, and is a great role model for them. He is an amazing son who always tries his best to do everything, never taking no for an answer. Instead, he tries to figure things out and is very patient in the process. We are so proud of him and what he has accomplished. We know for sure that if he keeps going this way, he will become an animator and bring great things to the world. We love you. Nathan Rodriguez is one of those all-around amazing students. We are proud to have Nathan represent Petaluma Junior High as a Student of the Month.
Thank you. That was great. And now we're moving on to CASA.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Sorry, my thing is glitching, so I have to keep my camera off. Casa Grande High School is proud to present William Height as the October Student of the Month. William Height, or William as he's known amongst his friends and family, enjoys the simple yet thought-provoking challenges in everyday life. Whether it's piecing together a jigsaw puzzle with his family or working his way through an escape room or debating common issues with his brother, he takes pride in his ability to be a critical thinker. He relishes his time spent playing with the family dog, working on his favorite coursework, curling up with a gripping mystery or thriller novel. Will's passion is for running, most notable aspect of his life, as he's always out exploring new trails or pushing himself against other athletes on the cross-country track and field team of the region. Above all, he values his ability to be a driven and focused student, a passionate, humble competitor, and a kind, trustworthy friend. Congratulations, William.
Congratulations. Thank you.
I am also to present his brother, Owen Height, as the October Student of the Month. Owen is the younger twin of his brother, Will, whom he spends nearly every moment of the day with. Outside of school, he has competitive interests in cross-country, track, and field, both of which he has raced at the varsity level since freshman year. Beyond sports and academics, his other hobbies include jigsaw puzzling with friends, golfing with friends, and spending weekends and holidays at regional parks for afternoon hikes. His societal issues consist of firm stance on the need for clean, renewable energy, and climate change awareness. Moreover, he believes in social justice, science, and unwavering respectful treatment of everyone. He particularly enjoys relaxing with his pit bull terrier and conceptualizing life and space beyond Earth in his free time. After graduation, Owen intends to pursue a career in biomedical engineering, where he hopes to research and discover more about the role of stem cell and artificial organs in healing other bodies. Congratulations, the Height brothers.
Congratulations, that's great. Thank you. And now on to Petaluma.
Hi, I'm Julia Critchett. I'll be presenting both of PHS's October Student of the Month, and I'm also ASB Vice President. So our first student is Enrique Alberta. Enrique is a senior at Petaluma High, where he spent the last 3 years and 77 days, and yes, that includes weekends, working to become the best version of himself. He admits that he might not have the best grades as previous students of the month may have, holding a cumulative GPA of 3.57, but he loves to learn. Just this year, he has filled his class with 4 AP classes, including physics, psychology, calculus, and government and economy, only one of which was necessary to graduate and to fulfill his A through G requirements. His academic goal is to attend Cal Poly University in San Luis Obispo. Throughout his high school life, he has been a part of Skills USA, the National Honor Society, and the California Scholarship Federation. He enjoys maintaining authentic and close relationships with all of his teachers, spending time with them after classes and during lunches. He always keeps a positive and active attitude in every class. In his first year, he went around school passing out candy canes during the month of December, giving one to every student in each of his classes. In Skills USA, he acted as vice president in his junior year. Through the club, he has participated in various volunteering opportunities with his team, as well as he won 2 state medals, 1 bronze in engineering and 1 gold in broadcast news production. Enrique and his family moved to Petaluma from San Diego, where he had attended a Spanish immersion school. Following the move, he attended a Montessori school and then attended the PAX program at McKinley before entering Petaluma High School. In his free time, Enrique has and will continue to volunteer for civic events, community projects, and Petaluma's own youth commission. He has also worked at several local businesses, including our own Christmas store and ice cream store downtown. He loves to be out and active in his community. Enrique is very family-oriented. He loves playing board games and watching nightly shows with them. One of his biggest difficulties with leaving for college is leaving his sister just as she enters her freshman year in high school. Enrique especially holds such a close and loving bond with his wonderful mother, who even helped him edit this very third-person bio. Congrats, Enrique. And then our second student of the month is Logan Pomey. Logan is a focused, goal-oriented, hardworking young lady. While in high school, she has been a part of the Petaluma FFA, Link Crew, varsity softball, and varsity wrestling. She is the current president of the Petaluma FFA chapter and a wrestling team captain. One of her biggest accomplishments was qualifying for the state wrestling championship this past year in the 131-pound weight class. Logan and her family own a cattle ranch where she works and raises her cattle. Besides doing chores, she exhibits her beef and dairy cattle throughout the state. She has been a part of the Ag Mechanics class, as well as a member of the dairy evaluation team, where they were the 2020 California state champions, and Logan was the high individual in the contest. Logan plans to continue to be a part of the agriculture industry by attending college and majoring in agriculture business. She hopes to study agriculture law and come back to help run the family ranch. Congrats, Logan.
Congratulations to everyone. Great students. Okay, our next presentation, thank you, is from the Art Education Alliance.
Hello, everyone. And boy, first of all, that was just wonderful. Congratulations to the students of the month. My heart's pretty full after seeing that. So congratulations to those students. And thank you for this opportunity. My name is Debbie Yarrow, and I am Arts Education Manager at Creative Sonoma. Creative Sonoma is a division of the Sonoma County Economic Development Board, and we've been around for over 5 years to serve and support the creative community. I'm also a resident of Petaluma. When my family moved to California from the Midwest about 3 years ago, we chose Petaluma based on visits to numerous schools in the county, and we were encouraged by the arts opportunities available here for our children, as well as the caring feeling that we sense from the schools. And today I'm here on behalf of the Arts Education Alliance. If we could go to the next slide. The Sonoma County Arts Education Alliance is a coalition of arts supporters that include Creative Sonoma, the Sonoma County Office of Education, arts and culture organizations, various school districts, classroom arts teachers, teaching artists, and students, parents, and community advocates. The logos here represent only a fraction of the collective of the Alliance. The next slide, please. The Alliance's work is currently focused on goals included in the Sonoma County Arts Education Framework. Created with feedback from teachers, artists, and arts organizations, the framework provides a menu of options for schools and districts to increase access and equity in arts education. The framework is a tool to chart a solid course for providing arts education that increases student learning and engagement. It offers something for everyone, no matter where you're starting. And the Alliance launched the framework last December. Even though much has changed since then, the goals of the framework are still valid and relevant. They have just shifted in priority. Since its launch, the Alliance is supporting working groups to focus on 4 areas of the framework: teaching and learning, specifically focused on social emotional learning and arts integration; leadership development; advocacy, that is organizing larger countywide efforts as well as geographic regions; and funding, meaning thinking creatively about sustainable solutions. There are a handful of Petaluma community members currently serving in these various working groups. And these working groups are laying a foundation of support for schools and districts in our county so that everyone can benefit from the arts. To help figure out how best to use the framework, 5 schools and districts were awarded framework planning grants earlier this year. The grants were supported by Creative Sonoma and SCO. And grantees used a template based on the framework to identify priorities and use the arts as a strategy to make progress on those priorities. And to mention here, McNear Elementary is a framework planning grantee and has created and is implementing that plan to incorporate more arts into instruction. To provide an example of how the arts can address student needs, I'd like to share a video that is just a bit under 2 minutes about the arts and social emotional learning. That's on the next slide.
Right now, students face havoc because of the COVID-19 pandemic. As they transition to distance learning, lose social contact, their well-being is in peril. But the arts offer a solution. Reports show that students suffer more from mental health issues since the pandemic started. This is a crisis.
Over 50% of students say they're in need of mental health support right now. That's an increase of 30% since the pandemic began.
And arts education is critical to supporting students' social-emotional health as we're all navigating uncertainties about the future, grief, losses of freedom and expression. The arts are unique in their capacity to encourage self-awareness, self-reflection, lower anxiety, increase relationship skills, teach empathy, ignite creativity, and actively engage students in the courses they're already taking. Right now, the importance of arts education is non-negotiable. Researchers tell us that students who participate in the arts not only show more sophisticated social skills from sharing to cooperation, but also a reduction in shyness and anxiety. Children who participate regularly in art are better able to manage their emotions and express themselves in productive ways. In this time of crisis, students need those ways of expression more than ever. As we challenge this moment, we have the opportunity to reimagine our entire school system, centering our students' social-emotional needs and making sure that arts education is a part of every student's life, even while learning from far. The arts are a critical and core curriculum. It's past time our schools actively recognize that. And arts education is not just nice to have, it's not optional, it's essential. So let's make an arts education a reality for every kid. Join the movement at createca.org and share this video. Right now,
Thank you. If we could go to the next slide then.
right now, students face.
Thank you. And right now, the arts can be used in many ways to support mental health and social emotional learning by providing positive outlets for authentic expression and community building. They provide distance learning that reaches and connects, and the arts increase services for ELL and low-income students, offering opportunities that are rich in content and culturally relevant. The arts work to decrease learning loss by capturing the interests of students and expanding their knowledge and skills, and provide access to a full curriculum. When addressing your district's learning continuity and attendance plan goals for this year, put the arts to work on those priorities. When you're working on future local control accountability plans, the Alliance can provide consultation and examples of successful LCAPs throughout the state that embed the arts within curriculum. And by embedding the arts in the curriculum, the arts are not a program to cut or diminish, but they earn their keep. The arts are a solution partner. Consider how federal funding can be used to support the arts. Title I can provide art strategies to support reading and math. Title II for professional learning for teachers, and Title IV for academic support and enrichment. Instead of considering funding as an obstacle, what if we shift our culture of thinking and imagine what's possible if we use the arts as the vehicle to get where we want to go? Next slide, please. Arts education in Petaluma is taking off. Examples of commitment and partnerships that I'm aware of include the Petaluma Arts Center, that's been creative and nimble in response to COVID by offering community building opportunities. The Arts Center is partnering with the Art Docent program led by Elise Breeze. Elise has created video recordings of interactive visual art lessons, and both are partnering to raise funds to provide art kits to students so that each and every student can participate and create art along with Elise. And they're still accepting donations for that. Petaluma Paints, another organization, is a nonprofit that supports arts integration and professional development for teachers and partners to support arts programming. And since the pandemic, school music teachers in Petaluma and throughout the county have been meeting in order to learn from each other and share strategies. Sadie Sontag figured out a way to get around the challenge of not being able to play an instrument with her student and shared that information with other teachers. And that shift in the culture of thinking is alive at McNair. Liza Eckert and her staff are using strategies for teachers to authentically engage with students, enrich the curriculum so that every child has a chance to experience creativity, and teachers feel fulfilled in their work. These examples demonstrate just the beginning of what's possible when we work together. And the next slide, please. Some next steps to suggest: join the Arts Education Alliance and name an administrator and a community member to act as a liaison. I know Jason Sutter has reached out to me to be part of that alliance. It would be great to have a community member as well. Schedule a one-on-one meeting with the advocacy team to focus on support that is geared towards Petaluma City Schools. Partner with other districts, either similar in size or regions. I think we're smarter when we work together. Participate in the next Arts Education Alliance Administrator Meetup, where we're talking about funding in the arts, LCAP and Title I, as well as sharing practices that are occurring throughout the county. And then my final slide. Anyone at all who is interested in staying in touch, please sign up for Creative Sonoma newsletters. My email is also here for any questions and ideas. And thank you again for your time this evening.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Inspiring. Thank you.
Moving on to public comment submission, I need to read you something. Under Government Code Section 54954, members of the public have the right to address the governing board on any items of interest, providing it relates to the subject matter, jurisdiction, excuse me, of the school district. While government code allows speakers to criticize the district's policies, procedures, programs, services, and/or employees, the district does have a policy specific to complaints against employees. Should comments from the public pertain to a specific district employee, the board requests that the complaint first be submitted in writing to the employee's immediate supervisor for investigation. If the comment is about something that is not on the agenda, it will be heard only during the public comment on non-agendized items, period. Once that part of the meeting is over, comments will only be taken on agenda items during the discussion of those items. The board values public comments, and although we cannot take action or discuss items not on the agenda, we listen carefully, take notes, and appreciate input from the public. Public comments are subject to a 4-minute per person limit or 20-minute limit per subject matter. The chat will be open for 2 minutes, and please include your full name and your topic.
Oh, Ashley, let me know when you've opened up the chat.
The chat is open.
Okay, again, all you'll need to do is put your full name and the subject matter that you would like to speak to into the chat box. We'll keep that open for 2 minutes, and then we'll close the public comment. Those people that put their names into the chat box with their topic, we will call on you once we've organized the public comments by subject matter. Okay, Ashley, you can close it. So, Board President, it looks like the first 4 items are non-agendized items. The last 3, they would be reserved for the discussion that's going to take place at 11.1.2, unless they want to speak right now. So we can give them that option after the first 4 folks.
Okay, so Nicole Weir on special ed cohorts.
Hi. Thank you all for all of your hard work and all of the extra time you're putting in. I'm a mother of a child with severe disabilities who attends a small class within the South County Consortium at Meadow School. I really want to bring everyone's attention to a huge issue that's really being silenced. This is the gaps in special education services during COVID. In mid-August, the California Department of Public Health published guidance for opening up cohorts to students who have special needs who need in-person support. While I'm aware of several English learner cohorts that are currently occurring in our district, I'm not hearing the same as taking place for our special ed students. Many of us parents who have a child who has severe needs are considering pulling our children out of public schools in pursuit of these essential in-person services and looking to private schools. And this really brings up a huge issue of equity, as many families cannot afford to do this for their kids. We recognize this is a district choice and a district option. So as parents, we'd like to know and have some translucency with, what these sites needs, what they need in order for these cohorts to roll forward and to make this happen as a district. And I just wanted to close and just acknowledge we appreciate all of you and thank you for supporting our children.
Thank you, Nicole. Brennan on Students Against Political Apathy Movement. I got an email from you.
Hi, I was wondering if I could bring the rest of my team members up with me. We're going to absorb 4 minutes in total.
Go for it.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, let's begin. So I'm Brennan Dye. I am the founder and director of operations for the Students Against Political Apathy Movement.
I'm Sam Kramer, and I am the director of program development.
I'm Zachary Skolnick. I am a agent in program development.
And I'm Bruno McDara. I'm also a program development agent.
So we are here today on behalf of the Students Against Political Apathy Movement to talk to you about our project and what we've done in the Petaluma City Schools District. So political apathy is something that is becoming an increasingly common topic of conversation in the political sphere as politicians are attempting to emphasize to students the need to go out and vote. But so far there's been little change. The lowest age bracket of voters has continued to have the lowest turnout, and the general feeling from kids towards politics is simply, I don't care. It doesn't make sense why the youngest up-and-coming individuals have the least opinions about the government they live in. At first glance, it seems this indifference is the result of a generational gap in interest, but as students ourselves, we found the reality to be much different. Students ignore politics not because they don't care, but because they don't know what it is and how they can get involved in it. Even worse, they are afraid to ask the people who know. We're here to fix that. The Students Against Political Apathy Movement is a student-led project that is dedicated to providing nonpartisan, simple political education and engagement resources to students. We're leading students around the country away from political apathy and towards civic engagement.
A few months ago, we talked with board member Quinn about what we could do in the Petaluma City Schools District to fight political apathy within the district. And we were given a few tasks to pursue and told to come back in a few months to talk about board support. So here we are. Over the last few months, we've been working on distributing our project materials and communicating with teachers. We've emailed every government teacher in the district with information about our movement and how they can get students involved in politics. We also have included some instructional materials that they can use to incorporate our movement within their lessons.
So far, we've officially certified around 50 government students from the Petaluma City Schools District who have completed our political engagement course. Teachers from both Petaluma High School and Casa Grande High School have expressed enthusiasm about doing a live event with us, which was held last Wednesday. Our event focused on the impact of media and media bias itself. Students from the Petaluma City Schools District, as well as other participating districts, listened and interacted with our discussion about media. We are currently planning on doing a follow-up live event, reaching an even broader audience, and we are excited about the progress we've made in this district.
Our movement spans the entire country across many different districts and universities, and one way we build credibility and mobility is support from districts who back our cause. We are here today to request official support from the Students Against Political Apathy Movement from the Petaluma City Schools Board, and to urge you to continue to take an active part in fighting against political apathy in your district. We are unsure of the specific procedures of this board, whether or not you can interact with us about this matter, draft a resolution or official statement, or add this matter as an item of business to a future agenda, but we are happy to explore all of those options. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit our website at www.sapamovement.org. Thank you for your time and consideration and for your effort to reduce political apathy among students.
Thank you. That was great. Okay.
I have just a clarifying question for them. What was that recorded? Is it available, the meeting that you had last week?
That's a great question, Maddie. I'd love to hear it.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, unfortunately not. So we did recognize that after, and we plan to record our next event.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's nice hearing from kids like that. Okay, Nicole Marzo, social dilemma. Nicole?
Hi. Thank you all for your time. So I just had one comment. There's a program on Netflix. It's called Social Dilemma. And I think it would be really great if the district got behind it and encouraged teachers, or just encouraged all students to see it, right? I think it speaks to their generation. They've been raised in social media. I just think it's a good program for everybody. And I think it's good to get the word out that it's out there, so that they begin to control social media versus social media controlling them. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
And Phoebe, update on reopening schools.
Oh, hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you all. Just was kind of surprised and a little bit concerned that Safe Schools reopening is not on the agenda at tonight's meeting and at every meeting going forward. It's such a prominent issue right now for families, students, everyone in our community, teachers, staff. So I would imagine that a bi-weekly update is the least that we could be offered as stakeholders. As Nicole Weir, I think that was her last name, just was talking about it 2 weeks ago, the board, I thought my understanding was that had directed for cohorts for students with special needs to be opened and operational. I have not heard any update on that. Sounds like Nicole, who has a student that may be included in that, has also not heard anything. That's been 2 weeks. I feel like there's a lot left unsaid and undecided that we just need to continue working on it. There was a big outrage in San Francisco Unified. People are demanding answers. People are demanding transparency. People need to be updated. It's just the most important thing in people's lives right now. So the fact that it's not on the agenda and there's not a study session for another, whatever it is, next week, that's very concerning to me as a parent in this community and a very interested party. And then on top of those, the cohorts for groups with special needs, I think there was also a discussion about socialization groups meeting on campuses. I have not heard one thing about that. And then 2 budget questions that I'm not sure why we're spending money on an outside agency to staff distance learning hubs. That seems like a misuse of funds, in my opinion, when we have plenty of staff that could maybe be repurposed, or to spend money right now seems a little bit unnecessary. And then my second budget question is sort of in the same realm. Not sure why we're spending auxiliary stipends for certificated and classified staff when we don't have sports or clubs or performing arts or honor society or any of those other where those stipends are usually spent. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Phoebe. Okay, Sarah and Sheila and Sarah, do you guys want to speak now, or do you want to wait till we get to that item on the agenda? I'm leaving it up to you.
Do you want me to just allow each one to talk so they can answer, or have them raise their hands? Or okay.
Well, no, because I'm not seeing everybody. So yeah, just
okay. I'll allow them to talk.
Thank you.
This is Sarah Andropoulos. I can do either way.
Okay, why don't you wait until we get there? Is that okay?
No problem.
All right. What about Sheila?
I can also wait until we get there.
Okay, and Sarah, I just would slaughter your name. Sychik, did I say it right?
Yes, you did. Thank you, Ellen. It's sight like vision and chick like chicken. So being in Petaluma should be pretty easy to get that. I can wait.
I got it. Thank you. Okay, we'll hear from you guys when we get to that discussion item. Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to report on activities and correspondence of school board members. There was an ACES and self-healing workshop, the Chain of Hope, which meets every other Sunday, the CSBA PACER meeting, a Zoom with teachers to discuss diversifying our narrative, and a panelist for the CASC Region 3 Student Conference, which is the California Association of Student Councils. So there we go. And now we're moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
I have a question about, actually, it was already brought up about the champions. Who's paying for that? And are they credentialed teachers? And what's their curriculum? I had a lot of questions.
So it's being paid out of COVID funds. Jason can talk. We've talked about this prior. This was the next phase of making sure that grades 4 through 6 that needed distance learning support had the ability to receive some support while still maintaining distance learning at school sites, but I'll let him speak to it.
Yeah, so our first phase was obviously putting in the distance learning cohorts in our primary grades, and our first two schools that we addressed were through our partnership with Boys and Girls Club, which we had a grant for, and we got that one off the ground right away. Our next phase was to bring online our primary cohorts at all the other elementary schools using our own staff that were maybe not engaged in their typical job because of our situation. For example, like campus security or positions like that that weren't being utilized in their typical way in distance learning. So HR Matthew had worked with all of those staff members that could be redirected towards our cohorts. We one of the questions is, well, why didn't we use those into this 4 through 6th grade? We don't have any left. We're actually we're struggling to get enough people to find the people to staff our elementary or our primary cohorts at our final schools. So this group champions had discussions with us about providing this service. It was a very good fit because it actually the cost is less than it would be for us to go out and hire new people to staff these ourselves, and it being a contract that we're working on. When we're done, we can end the contract. This is what they do. I mean, they do this type of work, and so they're coming in and able to get it going very quickly. It's not an extra burden on our administration. You know, what we're seeing is our own cohorts. It's a whole added level of work for our administration. So there's a number of reasons that make this choice to go with champions in our mind a smart one for our kids and for our staff moving forward. Well, Ellen, did that answer your questions, or were there other questions you had?
I have a question, because when I read the contract, it talked about curriculum, and my understanding from the cohorts is that these kids are doing distance learning with their regular teachers with somebody there to help them. So yeah. I was confused by that because it talked.
Why do they need curriculum?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So if you think about the day, so they're starting it at the day starts at 8, so that kids can be in their seats ready to go at 8:30 when distance learning starts. Distance learning goes for an hour and a half in the elementary till 10. They get a half-hour break. Then it goes another hour and a half till noon. That's the time that they're Zooming with teachers. However, there's 2 hours in the afternoon that we're also providing support for these kids. And 1 hour of that is additional work, because every student, kindergarten, they only have 3 hours a day, but every other grade has either 4 hours or 3 hours and 50 minutes. So there's like an hour of extra work that every student would have. And then there's another hour in that day that is for enrichment. And that was when we designed it with Boys and Girls Club. Part of it was to not just be all school, but to give them a chance for some social enrichment and working together. And we kept that design in all of our subsequent cohorts. So we're finding that time, especially like with our own cohorts, when we take somebody who is a high school campus security person, and we're saying, hey, now do some enrichment. They're like, what am I doing? You know, like, what do I do? So we're having to work with them on figuring that out. That's the curriculum that Champion's coming already in with. How do they offer enrichment? There are some, even though it on paper, all the time is spoken for, there are times in the day where there's downtime for kids. And so the curriculum that they have is helpful for that. It's also something that they've offered to share with us with our own cohorts so that we can use some of their expertise in the cohorts that we're sponsoring with our own people.
And then the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders are being pulled from, principals are recommending them, or how's that working?
Yeah, so we had principals work with their teachers at each site, and the criteria that we're really looking for is students that are not, it's the same criteria that we use for our primary identification, which was students that are not successful in distance learning. So that could be for a lot of reasons. It could be that they don't have internet. It could be that their house has, 10 people in it and it's a crazy zoo, so they need a quiet space. It could be that they're home alone and they don't have an adult that can help them when they get stuck on things. It could be anything, or it could just be that they need the routine of being in a place where they're doing their work. Our goal has been to try and provide the space for to not have anyone on a waiting list. That's our goal, is to provide service for everyone that needs it. We were originally going to start with 2 cohorts in 4th, 5th, and 6th that we were going to host at Valley Vista. And because we thought, oh yeah, the need is really in primary, we'll have just a little bit in 4th and 5th and 6th. And we were mistaken. There was a big need. So then we said, well, let's do 3 cohorts at Valley Vista. And then we said, oh, we need 4 cohorts. So we're now doing 2 cohorts at Valley Vista, 2 cohorts at McNear, and we're looking at bringing actually an additional one at Mary Collins so that we can provide the need for all the students that it appears need some extra support during distance learning.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, any other questions?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up, Jason. This is tangential, but I recall in an earlier discussion the possibility of building out into the secondary schools, and especially given the first grading period, results and grade distribution, it seems like there's going to be demand on that side of it. What's that looking like?
I mean, we have been discussing it, and it's something that we know is a need. We also are trying to take one step at a time, like one foot in front of the other, because we also don't want to take a step that where we're messing it up. We want to do it right, and so we've tried to be really systematic. We started with 2 cohorts. We went to 5 at McDowell, and then we added in the 3 other traditionals, and then 2 more year rounds. Now we're doing the 4 through 6. So we're trying to be really intentional and systematic about it. And I know that there's a need, and there is an urgency, but we also want to make sure that we're not being, having a knee-jerk reaction and just putting something in place that isn't thought out. So that is something we're talking about, but we're not there. We're not there yet. We're about to get these 4 through 6 off the ground, and we would immediately then turn our attention to what is needed at junior high and then on to high school.
And special ed. I mean, that's
special ed. So special ed, I've been actively meeting. Matthew, Molly, Melinda, and I have been actively meeting, trying to figure out the best path forward for our special ed students. It's such a unique, they have unique needs, and we've been meeting regularly every week, multiple times, trying to figure out what is the path forward. So that we have a huge urgency around. We're not waiting on anything. We're just wrestling with how to get to the right solution.
okay, because I think the special needs kids need to come before cohorts at the secondary level. I think they're
if we could solve that tomorrow, we would all love to have solved it by tomorrow. But we're still just trying to figure out how to find that solution that makes the most sense for all of our students.
Okay,
All our special ed students. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Or any other questions about the consent agenda?
I have a question about the vector solutions 10.2.1. Yeah.
I can jump into that, yeah, and just give a little. So I know that previously we had talked about how are we doing, updated sexual harassment training this year, given distance learning, everything else going on. And so we looked at what is the best way to, one, make sure we're giving the most current information, and two, use the resources so that we can get this to all of our students, grades 6 to 12, to make sure that they're getting the most up to date. We can track that they've gotten it, and that, and that there's a consistent way of getting the messaging out there. And so our human resources department uses a program called Target Solutions to do all of our professional development for adults. That includes all the mandated things like sexual harassment training, bloodborne pathogens, et cetera, child abuse, and all the ones we have to do. So Target Solutions is a subsidiary of the company called Vector Solutions. And Vector Solutions also has a company called Safe Schools. And Safe Schools is basically the sister company that's the K-12 component of the trainings that we do for the adults in our district. And so what it does is it in a very similar format, it provides students with modules, with videos in various student friendly terms and language, and breaks it down with, any of the latest legislation and information for students around issues that range from, tobacco use, sexual harassment, bullying, all the issues that we're talking about, and really figuring out how do we better reach out to students about this. And so that's what Vector Solutions is. And so our hope is that, if this gets approved, we definitely want to start with two of the main ones, which would be bullying and sexual harassment, and have that assigned to students grades 6 to 12 to be completed by winter break. And then we can move into other topics as appropriate throughout the school year.
How are you going to make sure students do it?
Yes, that's a good question. And so David Fichera has been working with the technology end of Vector Solutions, or Safe Schools, again, the subsidiary that works on the student modules, to see. And so essentially there's a push out that links with our student information system, which is ARIES, to see that we can put in all those addresses. And David could probably explain it better. David, do you just want to jump in rather than me mess up the integration part of it?
Sure, no problem. You're doing fine. But yeah, so it'll integrate with the student information system. There'll be a single sign-on for the students so that they can easily access the materials. And then there's great reporting that will show us very easily who has completed and who has not completed various trainings. And then we can follow up with those students as needed to ensure that they are able to participate.
I have a question and a comment. What repercussions are there for not doing it in a timely manner? Because when I went to Berkeley, if you didn't do it, you couldn't enroll. Like, you couldn't register for classes. So you had to do it, which was smart. And that's obviously not how our schools work. But the second thing is, as a lot of you know, I used to work at the Rape Crisis Center. I did anti-sexual violence activism in college. These trainings don't work. Like, the kids just make fun of them. So I would rather rely on our nonprofit partners and take a little bit more staff time, but get free services to do these things that are more interactive with the whole group. And honestly, when it's the interactive ones with Verity or the YWCA or another nonprofit, that's when we're getting the reports of child abuse or sexual abuse and things. It's them going to these presenters. So I worry that a training like this, A lot of kids are just gonna make fun of it. B, people aren't really going to learn that much, and C, the kids that could be reporting things that are happening at home or in their lives aren't going to report.
I I have a couple of questions, I guess, concerns as well. I was speaking with a counselor yesterday, and I mean, she brought up a good point. I mean, and I know Cliff brought this up a couple weeks ago. We were talking about how we just had such a huge increase in failing grades. It kind of feels like one more thing for the students to do, one more assignment. And yeah, I don't know if there's going to be any type of like negative repercussions, and it's like these kids don't need this as well at this time. But then also, it's just like one more thing to manage, right? They're managing Google Classroom and Aries and Parent Square, and I don't know if the kids are on Parent Square or not, but they have all these different things to manage, and as well as Nicole Marzo brought up the social dilemma, just more time on the screen. That's concerning. But then also, does this mean that the students have already not been spoken to about these items? Like, have they not been contacted already by the counselors or by administrators? Like, hey, here's the basics about bullying or sexual harassment, or we talked last time about Title IX and Title VI. Like, have they not heard this yet? And is this the way of introducing them to it?
My understanding was the intent was to utilize this as the introduction that would be followed up by administration to have those discussions individually. I quite honestly, I don't know what's going to be effective in a distance model for something like this. I know that I was pretty skeptical about the videos. The videos are really actually quite good, but I think the ultimate goal is how to communicate that message to a really large population of students. I mean, we're dealing with about 5,500 students right now that are all distance, and make that meaningful, but also communicate some of the background factual information. And that's what you get from the video. You get authentic factual information about what the law says. It doesn't necessarily, you're not going to get, okay, so now what does that mean for Petaluma? And what are our expectations as a school administration? And so I think the idea was to do it in some type of combination of the two. But I mean, we could, if the board wants to pull the item, we pull the item and we figure out a different way to do it. That's fine too.
Yeah, I just want to stress that this literally genuinely does not work. As the youngest person here who went through Petaluma City Schools, like, it would not have worked. It didn't work at Berkeley. It hasn't worked at my current job, where everyone is genuinely awesome and genuinely for social justice. We still make fun of the seminar, and all the experts that we could have come in and be more interactive know the law and are actually usually being funded by the state already. So it could even be a way to save money.
Right.
Or we could look into what Santa Rosa City Schools does, and they have an MOU with at least one nonprofit. They might have more. Well, probably right now they have less because of everything. But I don't think this type of thing can really. It's hard to scale it to 8,000 students, and but how this isn't going to work.
I'm just so concerned. Like, have they not had the talks yet? Like, do they not know this information, or at least been introduced to it?
I can't tell you whether they've had conversations with students. I don't believe they've done whole school assemblies at the schools this year. I don't believe that has taken place.
And I know some schools have done this, like San Antonio, they went through everything. It's using, the same old green pamphlet, and there were questions about how well that was working too. And so I think some sites were actually excited about this because it was more up to date and felt it would be more impactful. Other sites were waiting to see if this was going to go through.
Caitlin, you mentioned the why they do this kind of training.
The YWCA is Sonoma County's Domestic Violence Center. So every county in California has to have a domestic violence center and a rape crisis center, and in a lot of more rural counties, that's one agency encompasses both. But here in Sonoma County, we have those two. We have NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We have all these different nonprofits that are already getting government funding to do this type of work in schools. So.
Yeah, I don't think this can be the sole piece, but I do think it is an important piece for the purpose of scale. And I'll say, and I haven't taken these when I was a teen, but I have consistently as an adult. And I will say, you know, video trainings, you know, they are always poked at no matter what. But then it becomes useful when you find yourself in the situation and you realize, wait a minute, I've been exposed to this. I need to, I'm supposed to know what to do. And I will tell you professionally, I've been in that situation many times, and I hear the same thing. I mean, we at the CSU, we do these annually for the thousands of faculty across the entire state. It's the only way to do it on the scale. And I will say, you know, there's enough folks who, even if they do poke fun of it, they'll recall it when it's needed. And so I want to see it at least as a piece, particularly since we're dealing with these issues right now in our district.
My concern though is it's not, I mean, we do this every year and, you know, I can do it with my eyes closed at this point, but they're not really interactive. And I think that was something that Caitlin mentioned about that need for kids. You know, maybe adults don't need it, but I think kids do.
They're not interactive, and this would not, by, you know, bringing this forward doesn't by any stretch say that this covers all that you would need to do in this particular area. But what it, you know, the one piece that it does is it sets the expectation that should something occur down the road, it assists the district in the administration of what next steps they have to make. But it doesn't, if it, you know, a presentation that's a 5-minute, 7-minute video, no matter how good it is, it's not going to change somebody's behavior.
Well, then are we going to be open to liability if a kid assaults another kid and the assailant didn't take the video course? I mean, we can't just couch on this 5 to 7 minute video to protect us from liability either.
So I guess it brings us back to the question, what are the repercussions if students don't take it? How do we make sure that every student does it? But then also, sorry, I have another question, like how was this done previously? And I know we're in a distance model, but like teachers adjusted, but then how can we adjust whatever was done previously to currently? Because again, I am very concerned that the kids have not had this information yet.
So what we could do is, if we wanted to, we could pull the item and we could have the principals come and present on what was done previously so that we can get some background knowledge on it. And, you know, I think that, you know, going to what Caitlin says, I mean, there is opportunity lost once the school year starts. That's the perfect time to be really engaging in all of this. And I think everybody's a little bit uncomfortable anyways doing any of this distance-wise, is really limiting. And so I think what we're looking at, but what we're number one, first and foremost concerned about is what is our expectations? What are our expectations as a citizen in, you know, Petaluma City Schools of what behaviors are acceptable and what behaviors are unacceptable, and what's, where do we have a zero tolerance for that information? All good districts do that. There should be doing that each and every year. So we can certainly bring folks back and we can look at that and see if this plays a role for the year. I don't think any of us were looking at this as a long-term solution. We were looking at this as a distance learning 2020, 2021 solution. So I'd recommend, Ellen, that you pull item,
10.2.1.
yeah.
Okay, so pulling item, I need a motion and a second.
I move to pull item 10.2.1 and table until the next meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Yeah, I oppose.
You're opposed? Okay, that's okay.
Could I also ask, at the last meeting, with the presentation from Dear Casa and Dear Petaluma High, I got the sense, there was like I think it was 70% of the kids were not reporting. And so I really would like to also, at the same time, start working on very, very clear procedures for each school, because each school is different, each secondary school, well, every school really. And just along with this, so that we have like a roadmap of where we're going, so that kids know, so that if they're fearful, of course they're fearful. I'd be fearful, even as a 71-year-old. But if I knew the protections, if I knew what exactly is expected and exactly the procedures, and then having those procedures be very clear to all the people that have to administer it. Does that make sense? I feel like these two things need to go together.
Right. I think that's why we would bring the folks to do a presentation, because then you can look at it and discern what do you see as missing.
So I just wanted to add, sorry, I was texting during the meeting, but my friend from Verity who does the prevention work says that they did it they gave it a few weeks ago to all the freshmen at Petaluma High. So it's very cool. And again, she did it for free, not for $9,000.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And when did that happen, Caitlin?
A few weeks ago, and then they're going to do Casa Grande, a few of the classes soon. But I mean, with Zoom, you can still be an interactive facilitator.
So, Caitlin, did they just push into a certain class?
That's how we function when we don't have I keep saying we, I don't like that anymore. That's how we function when we don't have an MOU with a district, is we just work with individual teachers on each campus, which creates a lot more work for the nonprofit. But there are ways to kind of streamline it so that it's the most efficient use of services for everybody.
Yeah, and I would like to hear, if we're going to talk about next meeting, like how did they set that up with what teacher, admin?
Yeah,
I can ask her to speak if you want to add her to the agenda at the same kind of presentation time.
Or we can ask the admin when they present. Either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear more about that too. Okay, well, should we vote on the consent agenda minus the 10.2.1? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Moving on to discussion and information. Student Services amended admin regulation for independent study. Does anybody have any comments on that? Seems pretty basic to me.
It's very basic. I just wanted to double check that it sounded like home and hospital instruction is separate.
From independent,
is that true? Okay.
Yeah, it is, right, Gary? Home hospital separate from independent study?
Yeah, that's a totally separate program in Ed Code.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I thought. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to the biggie, 11.1.2. Explore a committee to analyze data and address the needs of student issues of inequity, campus climate, and other institutional barriers that negatively influence student learning. And what I'd like to do is, before we start, is to invite the three people who wanted to talk about that first. Is that okay with everybody?
That's how public comment works, so yes.
Okay. So let's hear from Sarah Andropoulos.
Hello, Sarah Andropoulos, they them pronouns with Petaluma Tide North Bay LGBTQI families.
Just wanted to express my support of what will hopefully be the formation of a committee to analyze survey data and address student needs around inequity, discrimination, and harassment on PCS campuses. And just want to thank PCS for having the discussion about this topic on the agenda tonight, and especially thank Trustee Joanna Pond for bringing this forward, as well as Assistant Superintendent Liz Chacon for your ongoing work on these really critically important issues. And as the student accounts of their experiences at last week's board meeting on many previous occasions have demonstrated, there's a clear need for something like this committee to be formed to address discrimination, harassment, and inequities within PCS. And I think it's also important that this be, considered as a standing or a permanent committee rather than a short-term effort. The incidents and experiences that students have shared in recent times are not isolated events. And the discriminatory and harassing conduct we've been hearing about is not a new phenomenon within PCS. And the work of creating safe and equitable learning environments for all students needs to be undertaken on a long-term and consistent basis. And it seems like that's how a committee like this should be set up if it's formed. Additionally, this kind of committee should center the voices and experiences of the students who've been most impacted by harassing and discriminatory conduct on the basis of their race, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or other aspects of their identities, meaning that students should be equal members of the committee, and their needs and input should inform the committee's focus as well as any proposed solutions that come from its work. And kind of closely related to that point, I think it's also important that PCS follow a transparent process in forming a committee of this nature. And this is significant not only in terms of ensuring that marginalized students and community stakeholders have the opportunity to participate, but also to build trust between PCS and the most impacted students, particularly given, what seems to be a widespread lack of reporting going on. And so I think that's a really key piece as well, building trust as the district seeks to make meaningful changes to school culture and create accountability at all levels through what should be a student-centered process. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And I agree. It's not just a box to check. It definitely needs to be ongoing. Sheila Morrissey.
Hi, thank you for listening. I'd like to say that I agree with Sarah, and I want to add that after the discussion that I just listened to, I agree that Target Solutions, I get why you're thinking about it, but I don't think that it's enough and not even a good enough first step. I know that distance learning can complicate things, but we can't use it as an excuse because things need to change and they need to change now. And what has been used up until now, i.e. counselor visits to the classrooms as well. I mean, we can see from the data and from the reports from the students that it isn't working. So something needs to be different. And I think the interactive approach that Caitlin mentioned with nonprofits who specialize in this type of thing would be so much more effective than the Target Solutions videos that I've watched as a teacher and I've watched as a parent, and I've seen the ones my students watch. They're not effective. And so I would really emphasize trying to the nonprofit route. And I think that we need to try it now. We can't wait. I mean, we're already halfway through the year, and it needs to happen as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. And finally, Sarah Seachick.
Chick.
Hi there.
Sight, like vision, sight.
Sight. Oh, see, I was thinking see, which is also vision.
That's true. That's true.
Well,
thank you all for talking about this. Thanks to the students who presented and did their surveys and were here to speak up. It is because of them and through them that we are discussing this. So I also wanted to extend my thanks to the students as well as Joanna for bringing students in the background saying you're welcome. Also to Liz and Joanna for making it move forward, and all of you for supporting it.
I know that.
I apologize for the children in the background.
So it's adorable to apologize.
There's a couple
you don't need to apologize for kids.
There's a couple of things that you were talking about here. And one of them, in regards to the sexual harassment conversation, I want to echo what Caitlin was saying for two reasons. One, I just asked Tabitha, my 8th grader, what their experience is with this sexual harassment information. And they received a pamphlet. They talked about it. it got crumpled up and thrown away. I asked if they knew what they needed to do, and they said, tell them to stop and go get someone. And that was like, that's good, but it's not.
Said if I need to defend myself, then I will.
Tabitha is in MMA, so if they need to defend themselves, then they know how to do that. Thank you, Tabitha. I think that this highlights part of what the survey was talking about, which is, and what, as a member of Petaluma Tide, we've sent out to you, having a new committee, a new permanent committee needs to be formed with students, not just with students involved in the committee, but having students be a part of the formation of the committee. And then therefore they can use those students to then have not just know the procedures and how to move forward, but further being a part of creating the actual procedures so that they can be involved in the full ownership of the action with their experiences. That way, just like the listening circles that the city had, this is a way to have, and we urge you as a board and a district to really listen to the community that is speaking and let the community take the lead, whether it is with the local nonprofits, with local community members, and most importantly, with the students and the stakeholders coming forward, and really being a part of the formation of a permanent committee and being voting members of the committee. And I just wanted to thank everyone again, and we look forward to working with you through Tide and the community working towards this. So I appreciate all of you.
So thanks, Sarah. She brings up a good point. How is this committee being formed? How?
Well, that's what we're here to discuss tonight.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that students should have as much of a body as any other interest group, if not more, because they're the ones facing the real repercussions of this and kind of have the least amount of power. At least luckily, most of our employees have one or the other union. So even if they don't feel heard by the district or by the site, they can go to their union, but kids don't have that.
That's a great point. So how do we get the students involved?
I don't think there'll be trouble.
No, I don't either,
but yeah.
I have a couple of questions, I guess, just about the data, because I think that's what we talked about last time. Like, we have all of this data, but how are we using it? So I think just a couple questions are, where is this data? Like, where is it stored? Who's collected it? How accessible is it to us?
What's the data? I'm not sure what data that is.
Like from the Keeping Kids in School survey, the school climate surveys that went out to staff.
The Healthy Kids survey.
I'm sorry, is that what it's called?
Yeah. What if we did, because I think that there's a lot of validity to driving a process. Sarah said transparent process. That resonated in that it's student-centered process. I think it probably in something like this, it would be wise for us to have somebody come in as a facilitator to do that. And we could talk to them on an ad hoc with a couple board members and identify a facilitator that would be able to come in, and we could start the process of identifying how to create a committee that does have significant student input on that. Call it a majority if you want. That's, whatever we decide that is, that it has community, true community buy-in and participation with the key critical school leadership that you're going to need to have to be able to implement this. And then you can start a process from there of of looking at the data and going through ultimately and determining what those steps are. So maybe what we can do is, I think we can commit to setting up a committee to do that. And then I can work with maybe two of you. I can talk to you individually, Caitlin, if you want to, Joanna, and we can start that process of mapping it out, what it potentially that could be. And then maybe we could come back to the board with an idea at the next board meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I would definitely, I like what Sarah and some others said about holding
The
listening
Sarahs.
sessions as well. The two Sarahs. And I mean, and also in terms of data, like Sheldon brought up earlier when we were talking about the grades with Cliff, like also just the data on AP and honors classes, AP and G, like how many.
Right. Do we still only have 10 Black students in AP classes? Like,
Need a really, really good facilitator, though, that one
Yeah.
that can connect with students
yeah.
and students feel safe with. I think this is a great opportunity to show some leadership and open that door for students to lead. And I think I agree with Caitlin. I don't think it's going to be difficult at all to bring in students that have been really negatively impacted in their lives because of their race or their orientation, what have you. We've already started those conversations from the last meeting that we had, and so they're difficult conversations, but they need to happen. But I think there's some leadership there that we could reach out to. But I think we'd start first with identifying a really good facilitator, someone that could be truly impartial, that's not maybe part of our community, but has perhaps even done this before in the past in another district.
Right. Circle Up might have some suggestions too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, is because the people that I've worked with in Circle Up are pretty awesome.
It could be it could potentially be a spin-off from some of the students that are working on that.
Yeah, we've got some great students training to be trainers, so.
So what I will do on this as a follow-up is I'll set a time. I'll set a time tomorrow, Caitlin, with you and Joanna, and then we can start putting some stuff together to bring back to the board.
Sounds good.
Great.
With Liz. Good.
Okay. We are now on future business. We have a study.
Joanna got kicked off.
Oh, well, she'll come back.
But yeah.
Oh.
So anyway, we have a study session on the 4th. And I'm hoping that at that study session, I want to know about the progress for special ed and for the idea of social emotional time, getting kids on campus in little groups. Anything else that people want to hear from at that?
Yeah, in preparation for that study session, there's a little meeting on the 30th that Gary was referring to earlier with site administrators and district folks to think through social and emotional development activities and stuff. And I raise it because Cliff and Jason, when we were doing the learning continuity plan, I remember I was scribing for one of the discussion groups, and on the Google form, I had put down a ton of ideas from my little discussion group. And of course, I don't have a copy of that. Do you still have the data from the learning continuity? Okay, good. So would you please bring those ideas? It was about social emotional development events and activities that might be able to be done safely during a pandemic.
I believe we're going to have.
We've got all those. They were all Google Docs.
Great, thanks.
Sheldon, so that meeting's on Friday?
I believe we're also going to have the reporters from that reporting out that's probably some parents.
Okay.
They did their individual work at their school sites.
Will we hear about that on the 4th?
You'll hear about that on the 4th.
Excellent. Excellent. We also have diversity in library collections, which I'm very excited about, and a report from Casa Grande.
And we're gonna probably table the Casa Grande update for a later date, but we'll see on that one.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Maddie? Are we good? Everybody's happy with future business? Are we ready to end this meeting? Oh, we also have an update on Stop It.
Oh, perfect.
Could we make that sooner? Because right now it says the 8th.
That's Resig coming, so we had to reserve a time for them.
Oh, okay, so we can't move it around. Got it. Okay, anything else? Are we good? All right. Meeting adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
You too.